Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Well, I'm back from my trip away from Giga Texas, and over the last week, a lot has happened. Now, first, I stopped at the Corpus Christi lithium plant on my way down to Starbase. I did put out this video on it, and we got a chance to see quite a bit of updates and changes at the site. So I recommend you take a look at that video. It's on my YouTube channel, and get up to date if you haven't seen it on what's going on down at the lithium plant. Again, a lot of great progress. After I arrived down at Starbase, I got a chance to take a helicopter ride and go up and look at the Starbase, the launch site, the production site via helicopter. And to be honest, I actually had a lot of fun flying in the helicopter as well. Really great views, and of course this was 2 days before the actual launch, so we got out there and it wasn't a full stack at that time. That happened the next day, and of course the production facility is just growing by leaps and bounds. So take a look at that video. It is also on my YouTube channel. Of course, the highlight of the trip was the successful launch, flight, and double landings during the Starship's Flight 4, and just really incredible to be able to be there to witness it. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't quite so good, but we got some outstanding images such as this from the SpaceX feed. And while I was there, I was able to live stream the entire thing with Ellie in space. This is just a small example of what we were able to see and talk about. This was the booster landing, our reaction, and of course the reactions of all of the SpaceX engineers as well. It was just absolutely thrilling to be able to witness this and share some of my thoughts live with a large audience of over 14,000 people. And in addition to that, I was able to be with Ellie in space and Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, for some interviews with Elon Musk. And that was really special to celebrate a successful mission. And of course, I got a chance to meet with and give my congratulations to Elon personally, which was really cool. Of course, while I was gone, big changes here at Giga Texas. Thank you to Airwave Dynamics for this video clip showing the Proof Rock 3 clearly porpoising up into the south end extension. And there will be room for a second tunnel. So those people wondering how they're going to get the tunnel boring machine out, they're going to tunnel back the other direction. And I'll get you some current and updated views here during today's video. Also, as a reminder, this is a big week for Tesla here at Giga Texas. It's the annual shareholders meeting. There are a lot of items to be voted on by share owners. If you are a share owner and you haven't voted, make sure you do so before Thursday. And there are many ways to do so, and it is critical to get your vote in. I was fortunate enough to get an invitation, so I will be at the shareholders meeting, and I hope to see many of you there. If you don't have an invitation and you are in the Austin area, there are some other opportunities. There's a pre and a post party being hosted by the Tesla Owners Club of Austin. The link is here at the bottom of the screen and in the video description if you would like to get more information. Okay, enough of the updates and information. Let's get into the drone. Let's fly around and see what has changed over the last week while I was away down at Starbase. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, good morning here at Giga Texas. It's bright and early. We have a beautiful sunrise, and it is good to be back. It's been about a week while I was out, but the big news today, of course, is the boring tunnel, or also known as the Cybertunnel, and the fact that it has now emerged inside the south extension. So I'm going to zoom in here on the west side. We'll look in, and you can definitely tell the boring tunnel sticking out of the ground in that area between the original building on the left, stained white with those concrete panels, and the new structure on the right, and you can see those yellow panels. Now, the boring company just posted some videos of the tunnel coming up out of the ground, and as you can see here, the Proof Rock 3 has emerged in the Giga Texas expansion. The Cybertunnel will come online in July, so just another month or so until we see this operational. You can also see that Wes Morrell, he's the lead Cybertruck engineer, says it's directly connecting the end of the Cybertruck manufacturing line to the logistics lot on the west side of the highway to reduce traffic on site and improve quality. And this is also going to help a lot with the movement of the vehicles from one side to the other. And ultimately, when everything is completed and they are sure about how everything works, probably going to see them autonomously driving through this tunnel as well. Now, there's going to be additional tunnels built in the near future, so we'll be able to continue to watch as this develops. And you can see those concrete blocks on either side of the tunnel on the bottom left. Those are moved over from the spoils bin on the west side, and that's going to be used to help remove the Proof Rock 3 and reposition it. There's also a great view of a lot of the other activity that is going on inside this south end. We can see the multiple mezzanines on the upper part of the screen, more of those large pipes for the cooling systems for the supercomputer cluster that's going to be on that mezzanine in the top center of the screen. We see a lot more equipment and items have been delivered. More of the framing out of that central structure in the middle of the building, and also we can see that the mounts for the glass have been numbered, especially on just off the left-hand side of the screen. The glass itself has progressed to the southwest corner and has stopped for the moment. You can see where the opening is for this perhaps another entranceway. The trapezoidal foyer and is above this area and opened up. And this is a great view in, looking at all of the progress, some of the construction, some of the equipment. You can also tell that there is this ramp, so it brings the grade of the floor, the concrete floor, and it goes down where that forklift is driving up. So there's a definite grade change in that particular area as well. As I continue to fly around this part of the site, we can see the glass company rounded top workshop, some of the crates with more glass, and some of the workers off to the left-hand side of the screen as well. This is a great view along the west side of the building, and you can even see the red-lit entrance way for that west main entrance on the left-hand side of the screen. And I'm going to bring the drone back down here, a lower altitude, and I'll zoom back in so you get another view of this part of the interior of this new extension. Of course, those large white items that are packaged up with equipment for installation soon. And as I pan the drone to the east, there's a few other developments that we see. The glass parapet wall on the top is almost completed with a few sections in the middle still remaining. We see these excavations. There's 3 of them along the perimeter grade beam. This is where they're going to cut in to that perimeter grade beam and have access into those underground tunnels that we saw being constructed. Now, the one on the left and this one in the center has just got the excavation work. The perimeter grade beam has not been cut yet. But the one in the center of the screen coming up into view now has had that perimeter grade beam cut open, and you can see this access, kind of the trench. It's probably going to be some sort of concrete apron or ramp that allows access into those tunnels. And that's a really good view of how that is looking right now. Now, those tunnels go from the south side of the building here, all the way across to about the midpoint of the building. And then there's elevator shafts on the end of each one of them that go up to the second floor. Here's a really good view of some of the materials, some of the equipment that's on this southeast side. More of the work on the interior of the building on the left, and you can see that multiple floor or the graded area, so there's different levels. And of course, the cooling structural platform is really coming along now. 5 of the eventual 6 open shafts for the cooling domes or the cones on the top have been constructed. We can also see that there is some concrete formwork or concrete forms that have been poured on the ground floor, and they have rounded cutouts where it will be supporting some of those large pipes that we've seen under construction. And here's a good view from the east looking across this area to the west and into this part of the building. Here's a good view. Again, you can see on the left-hand side where there's different levels of the grade, some excavation work going on in the middle as well, and some additional work on the center and the right-hand side of the screen. And a good view zoomed in here of that cooling structural platform with those cooling tower enclosures on the top, and they're using that fiber reinforced plastic panels for that upper structure. And also on the top you see the sections of what will eventually be those cones for this cooling tower waiting for installation. And also those 4 very large tanks and how they are embedded inside the building in this part of the structure. As I turn towards the north, we'll fly over this pond, some of the earthwork that's being done on the bottom of the screen. And here's some updates that have happened over the last week. We see much of the asphalt roads have now been paved, giving access into the structure. All of the concrete has been poured on all 7 floors, including that ground floor, and there's some grade work that's being done on the east side, very close to the structure. We also get a good sense of the road work here, Robotic Avenue and its extension going across the bottom to the right of the screen. And if you look at the bottom of the screen now next to the trees, as I continue to maneuver backwards, you can see that there's a temporary road as well being used. And as I continue to turn this direction, you can see how it goes along where the eventual River Road will come through this area and then an intersection with Robotic Avenue. Now I think that there's going to be some external parking here on the east side, and again we can see how the road work approaches into this multi-level structure. I've had some people ask if this is going to be open for the shareholder event on Thursday for all of the shareholders. I don't know, but I think that would be really cool if that were the case. So I'm going to fly back along the east side of the stamping machine structure. That temporary platform is still there being used for some equipment that's related to the pipes and some of the cable trays that are being installed along the parapet wall on this part of the building. I'm going to zoom back in here. Another good view of the cooling tower and the closures, those FRP pipes and the external panels for the structure and how this is looking. Those 5 circles, there will be 6 on the roof, and those are going to have those cones as well. Looks like some more trench work underway here between that cooling tower and the main structure, and some additional steel and other items waiting for installation as well. I'm going to give you a look down into these 5 openings as they look right now, and also a good look into this east side of the main structure. Unfortunately, the power lines are in the way, so I can't get much lower. Now on the roof, we can clearly see the 2 different kinds of materials that have been installed. On the left is the same kind of weatherproof membrane with insulation that the rest of Giga Texas has, and on the right-hand side is that different kind of roof, and I think it may be related to the super computer cluster and possibly a different fire code requirement for all of that equipment. On the bottom of the screen, we see another one of these concrete wall panels that has been brought in, so that suggests we may see some of that here on the west side as they work on that window line and tie it into the rest of the roof. We can also see many more of these steel pipes, probably for HVAC, and Cybertrucks now exiting the factory at the Cybertruck end of line, at least the temporary one for right now. And we see 4 more next to these trailers on the left in this temporary staging lot. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. We're going to look across the highway just to get a quick overall view of this west side support facility. That large structure is the end-of-line facility, the outbound lot, the supercharger station on the south end, this large dirt section that will eventually be paved and extend that entire lot area and give a lot more capacity, and of course the boring tunnel operation on this side. So let's take a closer look. So it appears to me that most of the activity here is breaking down some of the equipment, probably preparing for the next tunnel. Some of the conveyor belts have been removed from the beam on the left and that conveyor support system, and they've been rolled up, and we'll see that here shortly. We also can tell that there's been some work around the spoils bin with the block wall, and I think what we're seeing is that that has been moved inside the south extension next to the tunnel for removing of the tunnel boring machine. Here's a great view across from the tunnel on this side under the highway and then into that extension where we saw it emerged in that open section. And as I continue to fly around this part of the site, we can see the belt cassette has had much of the conveyor belts, the black material removed now, and the other conveyor that kind of turned the dirt 90 degrees. That looks like crews are working on it right now. And of course the concrete walls, kind of the Lego blocks, have been moved over to that extension. Here's a good view of that beam and the support structure for the conveyor belt. You can see how part of it has been dismantled already, and some of those belts are on the ground in these very large spools. And a good close-in view here of this side of the tunnel. The one inside the building will look very similar to this, and then they'll put a concrete structure around this to provide the proper entry and exit for the vehicles. And then we're going to see where the next tunnel is constructed. So I'll pull the drone back up to a higher altitude, a good overall view here of this west side again and where the boring tunnel operations are currently. I'll fly up over the west warehouse on wheels. I want to show you the progress that is going on with this triangular shaped parking lot. Part of it is still being used for materials on the left-hand side of the screen. Also some more pipes and steel parts on the right-hand side of the screen. And of course, they've already got the conduit in and some of the mounts for lights, possibly for chargers as well. And I'm going to continue to monitor this to see how it develops in the near future. This large west material staging yard is very busy. The blue items on the right, I think, are still parts for a smaller stamping press. We also see some of the ventilation ducts that are used on the roof for that opening over the body in white, and that's also for a data cluster. And as we continue to look back towards the factory, a beautiful site here with the sun rising over the main factory. Also a good sense of the entire length of the building with that extension on the south. The outbound lot is very busy, almost all with Cybertrucks today, and not a lot of Model Ys, although there are some. And in the my flyover later on in the video, I did notice that there are still Model Ys coming out of the factory, albeit at a relatively smaller rate than we've seen certainly earlier this year. There's a lot more of these Cybertrucks on this part of the outbound lot as well. And as I continue to maneuver up to the north lot, we don't see as many Cybertrucks here on that sort of the temporary staging as we have in the past. And I suspect that part of that is because of over the weekend, many of them were shipped out. And now that production is resuming for this week, we will see how this continues to develop. good view here of the north end of the end-of-line structure. Some Cybertrucks getting ready to enter the cafeteria, and of course the test track where we see another Cybertruck being tested at the moment. I'll bring the drone back over to give you just a different view of the number of Cybertrucks here on this side. All of the tents that you see are used for final checkouts and making sure that the vehicles are ready for shipping. And we also see a cleaning station with that white tank. You see a Cybertruck nearby, and they use pressure washing just to get rid of some of the mud and dirt that happens because of the construction site that is Giga Texas. And a good view of the south supercharger lot, and not super busy at this moment in time, although a new tent has been erected, probably for the workers and with air conditioning to keep them cooler. As we cross over the highway, I'll bring the drone down here next to the west main entrance. The lights have now been turned off, that the sun is coming up. And hopefully we'll get a chance to see this up close later this week during the shareholders meeting. As I mentioned, some of the Model Ys are exiting the Model Y end-of-line portal for the main factory now, and we're very early in the morning, so this is just when production is ramping back up after the weekend. More work here on the pumps and pipes for this water treatment facility. And as we continue to fly to the north along the west side, I'll bring the drone over to show what the progress is with this apron area that has had the concrete removed. The fencing has been changed slightly. Otherwise, not a whole lot of changes. We do see more of the recycling of the cans for the 4680s in those blue bins, and those are taken offside for recycling. And then as we wrap around the northwest corner of the building and we approach into the north part of the 4680 battery cell production portion of the factory, there are a few changes that I want to show you. The temporary platform that used to be here with this opening in the wall has been removed, and that suggests that we're going to see this started to be closed back up again. We also see a few more items, some pipes on the ground, but overall I'm wondering if maybe the majority of the construction work for the full 8 production lines may be coming to an end now. And that would be kind of consistent with the idea that later this fall, all of the 8 lines should start coming online. So that'll be something to continue to monitor. Now, these parallel lines in the parking lot and across this grass area and Tesla Road is where we saw excavation work and conduit being installed. You can see where it's going to come in through this excavation for concrete vault, and a few more of the concrete lined conduit sticking out of these trenches. But otherwise, it looks like for the most part all of the conduit has been installed through this area. Just need to connect here, and that will bring the electrical switch yard with the ability to connect to the northeast corner of the casting machine structure, where you see that excavation with the orange and white berries around it. That's where the last part of last time we saw working on the conduit. So we'll see if they continue to excavate on the ground where it's marked. A lot of castings on the right hand side of the screen, and also one of the loading doors or receiving doors has been doubled in width in the last week. So they are making changes on the north side of the casting machine structure as well. More castings aligned around the apron on the left next to the berm. And we see where this the 3 receiving doors have been widened into that one large one. And of course, continued work on this dirt area and below the drone. And then here is the foundations, some rebar, some of the concrete's been poured, and this is for that baghouse filtration plant. And we also see some additional items, screw-type piers and rebar on the left-hand side of the screen as well. So as I bring the drone up, I'll give you a good bird's eye view down on how this foundation is continuing to develop. And it looks like they have some form work on the left-hand side for possibly some support columns for the items of that filtration plant. And as I bring the drone back down here, a good overall view of this east side of the casting machine structure. And again, all of the castings on the ground and in the rack mounts here. And this is supporting the production of lot of them are Cybertrucks, but some of them are also the Model Ys. A good look at some of the additional castings along this side. That dirt area in front of those new receiving doors still has not had the concrete poured, so continue to watch that. The old testing and calibration lot has some, but very few relative to what we've seen before, Cybertrucks being stored here. And again, these are stored here typically until some outstanding items are completed and they are ready for movement over to the outbound lot. As I maneuver the drone in this direction, just a good view of the helicopter pad, the old Rainmaker on the right, and of course the wind tunnel and that green trailer as the generator. Still waiting to see if and when these are moved over to the west side, as they're no longer used on this side of the factory. As I maneuver the drone over the Robotic Avenue extension with all of the paving and the marks, we see some more of those steel corrugated pipes, other water pipes in the upper center of the screen, and just a good overall view of how this entire side continues to change. On the bottom of the screen next to the trees again is another one of those roadways. You can see how it connects over towards River Road, and we'll continue to monitor this to see how this develops, but it kind of terminates in the end of the tree belt onto that dirt path, and then it continues off to the east. Here's a good view of the recycle plant on the right, some of the workshops for the pipes that we saw for the south end, and of course the east warehouse on wheels with this black truck with these large items that are being delivered. Right now they're waiting until their time for delivery comes up. But a good overall view here of this entire east side. More of the materials and items stored here. Some of the items on the bottom are more of the platform supports and structure. And of course, the trailers that are used for the contractors doing the construction of Giga Texas. As I look back towards the main factory, a good long view of the entire factory itself and the extension, how that is all starting to come together as one large structure, and of course that large multi-level parking garage. Here's a good view of the east side of the battery cathode plant, also some of these trailers for the contractors and the crash test facility on the right-hand side of the screen. As I fly to the north here, I'll bring the drone down slightly. You can see that there still is some areas that are requiring paving to finish out this section. Also, many of the vehicles, a lot of them are Cybertrucks that have clearly been through crash testing, and that effort continues as they look to get additional data on the Cybertruck. The Wade pit has some water in it, but the fences are closed, so it's still not being used. And of course, the battery cell test lab here looks like they still have some activity there, plus some other trailers that are stored on the east side. This large clearing continues to be where concrete sections are stored for further breakup and recycling. Also some other materials as well. And on the center and then right-hand side of the screen, we see those sort of stainless steel, pipe-like segments, almost like tanks, still waiting for installation next to all of these concretes. And of course, that red and white item is another bridge crane waiting for its turn to be installed somewhere in one of these structures ahead. But this is almost the only equipment now on this northeast corner, so that's a big change over the last year as things have continued to develop and be installed into the battery cathode plant. Here's a good overall view of the entire west side. And next to those trailers, we see that concrete wall panel. I thought that that was going to be used to help finish off the open section next to the chiller plant on the left coming up. However, if you look on the wall, there's already been a panel installed. In fact, that opening is now completely sealed up, and the entire west side of the exterior wall of the cathode plant appears to be complete. They'll still have to do some work on this ground section with the dirt, but otherwise most of this is looking completed. The chiller plant itself still has some scaffolding around this north end and on the south end, but it is operational. All 4 of the Vapco fan units are working today as well. And it is early in the morning, so I don't see any workers at the moment on the chiller plant. The die shop itself continues to have equipment installed. We see some of the items on the bottom of the screen that have been delivered, and much of the stuff that has been delivered has already been moved inside, but there still remains these items for that installation. The external furnace looks like it may be in operation as well, and of course we've seen a lot of the EDRA deliveries to this section, so I would imagine a lot of work is being done on the inside installing all of that equipment. There does look like there's some sort of an excavation going on here next to these trees, and that'll be something I'll just watch to see what they end up doing. And of course Tesla Road's extension next to these trailers which are used for security, and of course this excavation for the underground steel corrugated pipe for the water management system and the concrete vaults continues to have some work. It's on a little bit slower progress, but ultimately that's where Tesla Road will come through this area. So anyway, I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude, give you a good overall view of the site on this Monday morning. Start off with beautiful sunrise, and a lot of the employees are filling up the parking lots and getting ready for a long work week. Also, just a reminder, Shareholders Day is coming up on Thursday. It's a big day. If you're a shareholder and you haven't voted, make sure you vote before then. As always, thank you very much for your support. I very much appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoyed what we are able to see. Take care.